All right, hi everybody. It's Mrs. Ault, and today I have the great honor and privilege of interviewing my dear friend Daniel Gonzalez. Daniel, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Hey, yeah, my name is Daniel Gonzalez. I grew up in Surprise, Arizona. I joined the military when I got out of high school. I went through the Navy SEAL program and did that. And when I got out of that, I came back to Arizona and became an engineer for Lockheed Martin's F-35 program. And that's what I do now.
That's so cool. So I was going to ask you, Daniel, one of the questions that we have on here is, how do you know Mrs. Ault? So do you want to share your side of the story?
Yeah. Yeah, I've met her in 5th grade in Miss Link's class in PEC, or not PEC anymore, is it?
Well, yeah, still the same school, PEC, but we're just called Paradise Honors Middle School now.
Okay, yeah. Well, I met in PEC, Brianna, and I grew up with her through the elementary school, and then we went to different high schools, but we still always kept up with each other and hung out, and yeah, I've been lifelong friends essentially.
Yeah, which is so crazy. So it's just so fun to like share that with you guys because, you know, you meet people in school, like when we talk about collaborating and like getting to know your classmates, it's so important to have those relationships to, you know, just keep up with people, see what they're doing with their lives. It's so fun to learn from others. So Daniel, I so appreciate you making this time for us to learn from you today. I was going to ask you just some standard questions. The first one, did you go to college? If so, where did you go to school? And if not, what was your course?
So, yeah, I did go to college. I did a little community when I was in the military. And when I got out, I went to, I'm still attending, I go to ASU, the Polytechnic. I study physics and thermodynamics and particle physics. So, and I'm still going through that right now too. So, which is nice and fun, but very difficult.
Yeah. How many years of schooling has that been for you then?
It's been three
3 years.
years.
Okay. So that includes the community college aspect.
Yeah.
Do you remember where you went to community college or was it through your military?
It was through military.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And how was that? Can you talk to us about like your experience with like getting enrolled into the military and just that whole process?
About being in it, like getting set up for the military?
Yeah, like what did that look like for you?
Oh, geez. Well, mine was a little different because I was in the SEAL community, and that was one of the harder community. Well, actually, it was the hardest community to get into. I had to go through a lot of training and do a lot of psych evals to test and qualify to be into the Navy SEAL program. And once I got that I guess acceptance letter, I went to boot camp, which was in Chicago, and then I went through different phases of SEAL training, and that was some in Chicago. A lot of it was in Alaska. And then I went to San Diego to train in San Diego. And then I went up to Maine. And then it was just a lot. It was a lot of training before I actually got really involved into the military.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't, I mean, that was hard, but it was a good time.
Yeah.
It was a good time and it was well worth it.
Yeah. Did they make you like sit down in a classroom and learn when you were in the military at first? Like what was that side look like?
So when I was like I said, I was a little different. I didn't get to learn like Navy heritage, but when we were there for the SEAL program, we started to learn a lot about communications and loading crypto into certain radios so that we can actually talk to each other without, I guess, the enemy hearing us. So there was a lot of that involved, as well as life-saving and water confidence courses. So when we sat in there, we learned about how to revive somebody if they pass out or drown. How to make snares for when we're out in the middle of the wild when we were in Alaska, and kind of, you know, keep our buddies safe and keep ourselves safe and warm. So there was a lot of briefs on how to use communication radio equipment, how to use our rifles, and how to use our med kits and how to treat a wound. So yeah, a lot of classes that were, you know, being conducted, but also a lot of hands-on training too. So it was very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And sounds like a lot of work. Were there days that you wanted to give up, like while you were in your program?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day I wanted to give up, but I thought about it a lot, and it was where I wanted to be for the most part at the time. It was where I wanted to be, and it was something that I feel, well, I know that there's a lot of people that aren't able to do it, and for those that do, even if they don't make it, I mean, it means the world, and it's a huge accomplishment. So
absolutely.
Yeah, every single day I cried, and every single day I wanted to quit, but I just, you got to do what you got to do to keep going. So
yeah.
It was a great time. Yeah.
And now you're on the opposite side of that, where you're more on the engineering side. What does like the academic world of an engineer look like? Could you like maybe run us through what your typical day looks like?
Um, well, so like right now, it's a very what I do is kind of classified.
Okay.
So let me think of something like back at home, back at Luke. I'm in DC right now. Back at Luke Air Force Base, what we do is we'll have pilots fly these jets, and they'll do certain missions and test certain equipment. And when they come back, they tell us what's wrong with the equipment, what happened. And we have computers in the aircraft that let us know what's going on and what's missing and what needs to be done. So once it gets to that, then we have this system or this program where we're able to blow up the jet and kind of look inside to see what the problem is and what modifications we can do. But when we do a certain mod, we also got to look at all the other aspects around that one particular mod that it might mess up. For instance, a fuel pump. If a fuel pump is not giving us enough pressure, then do we need a bigger one or a smaller one? Is it not the fuel pump? Is it the electrical? Like there's a gearbox next to it and it's electric. Is that not feeding enough power to that fuel pump? So then we got to look at that, and then we look at the computers to see how much power is being provided for that. And I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but it's pretty fun. And out here, like I said earlier, it's electromagnetic pulses that we test. So we'll do lightning strikes at the aircraft. We'll like charge up electricity in a Tesla coil, and then we'll shoot it at the aircraft to see what type of avionics equipments are being affected by that. And if it is, then we start using our brains to figure out what we can do so that those avionics equipments don't shut down during flight.
Wow, that is quite the resume you have there, Daniel. That's a lot of work.
It's cool.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. So with I guess with your like job currently and or I guess any past jobs you've had too, like what are some English language art skills that you've acquired or that you've found helpful in doing what you do now or what you have done?
Um, Geez. Well, communications when I was in the program, talking to each other on the radios and using certain codes, I guess, to talk
Yeah.
to each other. That was a big thing. That was a really big thing. And also really, really pronunciating our words to make sure that our team understands and know what we're talking about. So that was a big thing. And then even now with engineering side, I mean, I work for the United States, but I also work for Italy and Norway. So the problem with that is it's kind of difficult trying to talk to Italians and Norwegians. One of the big things that I learned really in college was like know your audience when you're talking or when you're giving a speech or a lecture or whatever it may be. And I realized real fast that the way we talk is not the same as Italians and Russians. If I say hit the ground running, we all know that kind of means let's get straight to work and let's do
Right.
this. Let's get this done fast. When I said that, the Italians at the time, Nunzio, he's a really good friend of mine, he didn't know what that meant. So he was like, "Why are we hitting the ground?" I was like, "Oh, geez." And I realized that there's so many things that we say. What's the word? Colloquial, I think, where it's like not proper English, not the way we,
Yeah.
you say things. I guess we say a lot of things in English that there are many people around the world that don't really understand. So it really, for me, I had to really think about my speeches and think about how I'm saying things because I give lectures. Um, Once we do our modifications, once we run tests and it ends up good or bad, I have to write out a lecture or a speech and give it to the Italian leaders for military leaders or the Norwegian military leaders. So I got to really think about what I write and what I say and how I say it because it
Yeah.
is very easy for them to get it misconstrued.
Yeah.
Beyond when we do make modifications, and I will put in an action request to get sent up to our headquarters. I have to be very, very specific in how I write it and give it a lot of details and a lot of, I guess, use a lot of verbiage on it so that they can actually understand and comprehend what it is I'm trying to say and trying to get done.
Totally. I love that because that's been the common theme so far with our interviews is we've seen a lot of how vital it is to learn how to communicate, whether that be written expression, verbal expression, which is a lot of what ELA is about, is like both that reading comprehension plus that verbal comprehension. If I say this is what I mean. So just you even touching base on the international side of that when we're communicating with people who maybe English isn't their first language or working with people from different cultures and companies and whatever, how vital it is to make sure that we're communicating clearly and concisely so they know what we're talking about and knowing your
Right.
audience, which is so huge whenever we're writing. at least in our classroom, is like when we know our audience, we're able to communicate even more effectively. So I
Right.
love that you touched base on that. That is so great. And what a great example. Hit the ground running. They're like, wait, why would we hit the ground? Like, why would we do that? And we don't even think about those metaphorical language that we use in America. We just don't think about that when we communicate with other people from different cultures. So, so glad that you touched base on that.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So I know there's a lot of different diverse cultures and people that we're talking to today. But if there was one thing you would tell to a student who's hearing this, maybe some advice that you would have for them if they're choosing to pursue a degree close to yours or to do kind of what you do, or if not, like what's some takeaway that you would have for anyone hearing this today?
I would say, and I think the biggest thing is to never stop learning. I think that's it. You can be the smartest person in your class, and you can have A's nonstop your entire, educational career, but that doesn't, and it matters for some jobs, it does. But the biggest thing is you need to keep learning because we as humans are always evolving, making the next big thing come out and doing the next big thing. So it's very, very important that people just kind of like think about that they always have something new that they can learn, whether it be from a 5-year-old or from a 50-year-old. Somebody has something that they know that you might not.
Yeah.
So it's very important that you stay open minded and keep learning and be nice. Be nice is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because if you're a very nice, charismatic person and you're open to hear what someone has to say, they might give you more information, than they thought, and that might help you become a better person, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. So,
Yeah.
yeah, keep learning and be nice.
Yeah, totally. Love that. Especially because in your profession where there's a lot of engineers who are older than you, like we were talking before the actual interview got recorded, like, it's harder for some of these older people who've been in the profession a long time to continue to learn. I think that you said it perfectly, like becoming a lifelong learner and like pursuing to be open-minded enough to consider new ideas, new thoughts, new strategies to improve your practice is a huge life skill that I don't think anyone should take for granted. So love that you touched base on that as well. Well, great. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for your time today and for touching base on all your wisdom. Is there any other closing thoughts that you have or any salutation you'd like to say before we go?
Um, oh geez, nothing that I can think of right now. No.
Okay, well, awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. We'll wave goodbye.